First contact and miscalculation. High Commander Zivax stood on the observation deck of the Confederation flagship Eternal Glory, his 4 eyes fixed on the small blue-green planet rotating slowly on the main view screen. Earth looked peaceful from this distance, oceans glittering, white clouds swirling across continents, city lights blinking on the dark side. His crystalline exoskeleton reflected the soft light of the bridge as he contemplated the Confederation Council's orders. Preliminary assessment complete, High Commander, announced Science Director Elora, her tentacles delicately manipulating a data sphere that projected holographic information around her. The natives call themselves humans. Technologically, they've achieved rudimentary space travel but remain confined to their solar system. Their global communication network is primitive but functional. They have nuclear capabilities, basic orbital platforms, and crude projectile weapons. Zivax's secondary eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of dismissal. Nothing that could threaten a Confederation vessel then. Typical of a Category 3 civilization. There is one anomaly worth noting. Elora continued, her voice modulating to indicate caution. Their development curve is unusually steep. They've progressed from atmospheric flight to space travel in less than a century. Their information technology has evolved exponentially, and they've survived several near-extinction events in their history. Resource Director Krell, a hulking figure with armor-plated skin, approached the view screen. Irrelevant. Our scans confirm abundant heavy metals, radioactive materials, and biological diversity. This planet is a treasure trove that would supply our expansion needs for decades. The Council has authorized first contact with resource acquisition as the primary objective, Zivax stated. We follow standard protocol for primitive species, demonstrate superior power, present our demands, and establish extraction operations. Resistance, if any, will be minimal and short-lived. Elora's tentacles writhed slightly, her species equivalent of a frown. I recommend caution, High Commander. My analysis suggests these humans may be more adaptable than they appear. Your concerns are noted, Science Director, Zivax said flatly. Prepare the diplomatic vessel. I will lead the contact team myself. 24 hours later, the sleek silver diplomatic craft descended through Earth's atmosphere, cloaking systems active until the final moments. They appeared suddenly over the United Nations building in New York, causing immediate chaos below. Traffic stopped, people pointed upward, and military jets scrambled. Inside the ship, Ambassador Trell adjusted her translucent membranes, formal attire for her aquatic species. High Commander, allow me to handle the initial exchange. I've studied their languages and customs extensively. Proceed as protocol dictates, Zivax agreed, but I will observe closely. Their ship landed gently on the large plaza before the UN building. Armed soldiers quickly surrounded them, weapons raised. Zivax watched through the view screen as world leaders arrived in hurried processions. They're frightened but curious, noted Trell. A good combination. The diplomatic team emerged from their vessel, walking deliberately down the extended ramp. Trell led, followed by Zivax and 4 other Confederation representatives. Earth's sunlight felt strange on Zivax's exoskeleton, brighter somehow than the stars he was used to. A group of humans approached. They wore formal clothing, dark suits, and military uniforms adorned with insignia. One stepped forward, a woman with silver hair and commanding presence. I am Secretary General Rise of the United Nations, she said calmly. Welcome to Earth. Trell activated the translation device at her throat. Greetings. I am Ambassador Trell of the Galactic Confederation, representing 412 spacefaring civilizations. We come with purpose. The human leaders exchanged glances. A tall man in a military uniform spoke next. I am General Cheng of the International Defense Council. We have many questions. As expected, Trell replied smoothly. We have come to answer them and to discuss the terms of our resource acquisition agreement. The meeting moved inside the United Nations building. Zivax watched the humans carefully. They maintained composure, but he could see signs of alarm in their quick glances and whispered conversations. In a large conference room, Trell outlined the Confederation's demands: access to Earth's mineral deposits, biological specimens, and water reserves. In exchange, humans would receive limited technological knowledge and protection from other, less benevolent, spacefaring species. "This isn't a partnership," observed Secretary General Reyes. "It's an ultimatum." "A reality," Trell corrected. "The Confederation has encountered hundreds of emerging civilizations. Those who cooperate prosper, those who resist." She let the implication hang in the air. Dr. Wei, a human scientist with steady hands and calculating eyes, asked detailed questions about Confederation technology and biology. Zevax found himself impressed by her quick understanding. General Cheng's expression remained neutral. "We will need time to discuss these terms among our world leaders." "Of course." Trell smiled in what she believed was a reassuring way. "You have 48 hours to begin compliance. A demonstration of our capabilities can be arranged if necessary." As the diplomatic team departed, Zevax noticed something in the human's eyes that troubled him. It wasn't just fear, it was something else. "That went well," Trell said as they returned to their vessel. "They understand their position." Zevax wasn't so sure. "Science Director Elora's assessment of their adaptability concerns me. Did you notice how quickly they adjusted to our presence? There was something in their reactions. Natural shock at first contact," Trell dismissed. "They'll comply. They have no choice." That same evening, deep beneath the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., General Cheng stood before a secure video conference. The faces of world leaders filled screens around him. Presidents, prime ministers, kings, and military commanders from every continent. "They see us as primitives," Cheng said bluntly. "Their agreement means subjugation." "We should be cautious," countered the Chinese premier. "Their technology far exceeds ours." "Yes," agreed Dr. Wei, who stood beside Cheng. "But did you notice they've only analyzed our public infrastructure? Their scans haven't penetrated our classified facilities or detected our contingency systems." The Russian president leaned forward. "You believe we should activate the Phoenix Protocol?" Cheng nodded. "They don't know we've been preparing for this possibility since the 1950s. They think we're divided and primitive. Let them keep thinking that while we learn everything we can. And if they discover our preparations?" asked the Brazilian president. Dr. Wei spoke softly, her voice carrying weight for its calmness. "Then we hope High Commander Zevax is wiser than Ambassador Trell. I saw his eyes when she spoke of demands. He recognized potential danger, even if she didn't. We proceed with calculated compliance." Cheng concluded. "Welcome their presence, agree to initial terms, but protect our independence and prepare quietly for the possibility that these aliens are exactly the threat we've always feared from the stars." Screens blinked off one by one as leaders returned to their preparations. In orbit above them, Zevax stood at his view screen watching Earth turn below, wondering what secrets those oceans and continents might hide. For 3 weeks, the humans displayed surprising cooperation. They permitted small Confederation teams to begin preliminary surveys at designated sites. They asked questions about Confederation technology, but accepted the limited answers provided. They smiled, nodded, and seemed to accept their role as a resource provider. Resource Director Krell grew impatient with the methodical pace. "This approach wastes time," he told Zevax aboard the flagship. "We should deploy extraction machinery immediately. Protocol dictates a gradual." "Protocol assumes resistance," Krell interrupted. "These humans are remarkably compliant. I recommend accelerating our timeline." Zevax reluctantly agreed, and the first major extraction facility was established in an isolated region of Australia. Massive machinery was transported to Earth's surface, capable of mining deep into the planet's crust at unprecedented speed. What the Confederation didn't know was that every piece of their technology was being scanned, analyzed, and understood by hidden human observers. Every alien communication was intercepted and decoded. Every biological sample was studied for weaknesses. Dr. Wei led a global team of scientists working around the clock in a facility buried beneath the Antarctic ice. Their energy weapons operate on principles we theorized but never implemented, she explained to General Cheng during a secure briefing. Their hull material is remarkable, but susceptible to targeted electromagnetic pulses at specific frequencies. How soon? Cheng asked simply. First countermeasures are ready now. Adaptive systems within 2 more days. Cheng nodded. The extraction facility becomes fully operational tomorrow. That's when we move. The next day, as the Australian facility powered up its main drilling system, the first human counterstrike began. It started not with a bang, but with silence. Every Confederation communication system suddenly went dead. Their quantum entanglement network, supposedly impossible to disrupt, failed completely. Krell was on site, supervising the operation when it happened. What's going on? He demanded as screens went dark. Before anyone could respond, the facility's power core fluctuated wildly. Systems shut down in cascade failure. Then came the sound, a high-pitched whine that brought the Confederation personnel to their knees, their neural systems overwhelmed by precisely calibrated sonic frequencies. From hidden bunkers, human special forces emerged wearing equipment that looked suspiciously similar to Confederation design. They moved with practiced efficiency, securing alien personnel with electromagnetic restraints specifically designed for their biology. In orbit, Zavax watched in disbelief as the extraction site went offline. Impossible, he whispered. Their weapons can't. Multiple projectiles approaching, shouted the sensor officer. Unknown propulsion technology. Before Zavax could respond, the first human missiles, reverse-engineered from Confederation designs, but modified with Earth materials, struck the flagship's shield system. The shields didn't fail. They never activated. Something in the missile's composition bypassed the detection systems entirely. They'd been studying us, Alora realized aloud, her tentacles writhing in agitation. All this time, while appearing to comply. On view screens across the ship, a single message appeared, translated into perfect Confederation standard language. The Hornets have been disturbed. This is your only warning. The Hornet swarm. The Confederation Council convened an emergency session upon receiving High Commander Zavax's distress signal. Elder Counselor Dravix, his scaled skin faded with age, regarded the assembled representatives with grave concern. This is unprecedented, he announced to the chamber. A Category 3 civilization has not only resisted Confederation forces, but has captured Resource Director Krell and disabled one of our most advanced extraction facilities. Clearly our intelligence was flawed, stated Counselor Mira, her luminous form pulsing with indignation. This species cannot be Category 3 if they possess such capabilities. Science Counselor Tell manipulated a series of data projections. Our analysis suggests they don't possess such technology inherently. They've somehow adapted our own systems against us, in a matter of weeks. The development curve is impossible. Elder Drevix's decision was swift and traditional. We cannot allow this precedent. Deploy the 7th Battle Fleet. Neutralize all resistance. The resource value of this world justifies decisive action. On Earth, humanity prepared for the response they knew would come. The captured extraction facility had yielded technological bounty beyond their expectations. Dr. Wei had hardly slept in days, coordinating research teams across continents. Their neural network interfaces directly with their ships, she explained to a room full of military leaders. We've adapted the principle to our own systems, increasing response time by 300%. General Cheng nodded approvingly. And the shielding technology, partially implemented on our orbital platforms and key ground installations. Full coverage impossible with current resources, but we've developed an alternative approach. She displayed a holographic schematic. Distributed defense nodes, millions of them, too small to target effectively. Swarming defense, inspired by our own insect colonies. President Alvarez of the newly formed Earth Defense Coalition spoke up. What are our chances when their reinforcements arrive? Dr. Wei exchanged glances with General Cheng before answering honestly. By conventional metrics, minimal. They outmatch us in nearly every category of traditional warfare, but they're fighting according to rules established against comparable opponents. We're not fighting by those rules. 7 days later, the 7th Battle Fleet of the Galactic Confederation emerged from hyperspace in Earth's solar system. 12 massive warships, each capable of planetary-scale destruction, approached in formation. Fleet Admiral Zahn, a veteran of 3 galactic campaigns, commanded from the dreadnought Inevitable Victory. "Prepare planetary communications," he ordered. "Standard surrender protocol." His communications officer worked the control panel, then looked up in confusion. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the humans already." Zahn blinked in surprise. "Put it through." The view screen activated, showing General Cheng sitting calmly at a simple desk. Behind him stood representatives from every major nation on Earth. Fleet Admiral Zahn. Cheng greeted him by name and rank. "We've been expecting you." Zahn's surprise deepened. "How do you know my identity?" "We know a great deal about the Confederation now," Cheng replied evenly, "including your standard protocols for dealing with primitive species. We're transmitting terms for your immediate withdrawal from our solar system." Zahn's forearms tightened into fists. "You are in no position to dictate terms, human. You face the most powerful battle fleet in the quadrant." "Do we?" Cheng asked, almost conversationally. "Look closer at your scanner readings." Confusion rippled through the bridge as sensor officers reported anomalies. The planet below was registering strangely on their instruments. Millions of tiny energy signatures, too small to identify, but too numerous to ignore. More disturbing were the readings from their own fleet. Subtle variations in shield harmonics, minute power fluctuations. "Some kind of scanning interference," the senior officer suggested. "Their primitive attempts to." Without warning, the secondary systems on 3 Confederation vessels shut down simultaneously. Life support remained functional, but weapons, propulsion, and communications were suddenly inoperative. "Impossible," Zahn shouted. "How are they?" "We call it a technovirus," General Cheng explained, still maddeningly calm. "Adapted from your own communication protocols. It's been quietly uploading to your systems since you entered our solar system, transmitted via the very scans you're using to analyze us." On the view screen, Dr. Wei stepped forward. "Your technology is impressive, Admiral, but your greatest weakness is your arrogance. While you saw primitives, we were learning. While you planned extraction, we were adapting. Your machines are marvels of engineering, but lack basic immunological protections against unfamiliar code structures." Zahn's anger gave way to a dawning realization. "You've been planning this since before we arrived." The compliance was a deception. "Of course," Cheng acknowledged, "just as your diplomatic mission was a pretext for conquest. The difference is that we anticipated your true intentions. From Earth's surface and from hidden orbital positions, thousands of small craft suddenly appeared on Confederation sensors. Each was barely the size of a shuttle, but they moved with startling speed and coordination, like insects swarming from a disturbed nest. "These are our Hornet-class interceptors," Cheng explained. "Individually insignificant by your standards. Collectively." He let the implication speak for itself. The human swarm surrounded the Confederation vessels, attaching themselves to hull sections. Where they connected, systems began to fail. Not catastrophically. The humans weren't trying to destroy the ships, but methodically, system by system, like antibodies neutralizing an infection. On 3 Confederation ships, including the Inevitable Victory, the lights suddenly dimmed as main power diverted to emergency systems. "What do you want?" Zahn finally asked, his voice hollow. "Recognition," Cheng replied simply. "Earth is not a resource deposit. Humanity is not a primitive species to be exploited. We are claiming our place among the stars, Admiral Zahn, whether the Confederation approves or not." What followed was the most unusual battle in Confederation history, a battle where the technologically superior force found itself progressively immobilized, not by destructive power, but by infiltration, adaptation, and overwhelming numbers. Human craft didn't attempt to destroy Confederation vessels. They simply rendered them inoperative, one system at a time. 3 days later, Fleet Admiral Zahn sat across from General Cheng and President Alvarez in the United Nations building. His once immaculate uniform was rumpled from days without proper rest. Behind him stood his remaining command staff, similarly disheveled. "The Confederation has existed for 12,000 years, Zahn said quietly. "In all that time, no Category 3 civilization has ever, no civilization of any category has achieved what you've done. Perhaps your categorization system needs revision," suggested President Alvarez. "The Council will never accept this defeat," Zahn warned. Dr. Wei, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. "They will when they understand the alternative. We're prepared to share what we've learned about Confederation technology, including our improvements upon it, with other worlds you've subjugated." The implication was clear, and Zahn paled visibly. "You wouldn't." "We would prefer alliance to conflict," General Cheng said. "Earth wishes to join the galactic community as equals, not as subjects. The choice before the Confederation is simple: recognize our sovereignty or face a very different galaxy than the one you've dominated for millennia." 1 month later, High Commander Zivak stood before the full Confederation Council, presenting the Treaty of Earth for ratification. It was unprecedented, a formal recognition of a Category 3 civilization as a sovereign equal, with mutual defense pacts and technology exchange protocols. "This cannot stand," objected Councillor Mira. "The precedent it sets is already established," Zivak interrupted. "The humans have shared their adaptive techniques with the Procyon worlds. The Centauri systems are in open negotiation with Earth representatives. The galaxy is changing, councillors." Elder Dravix, who had initially authorized the military response, now spoke with resignation. "How did we miscalculate so severely?" Science Director Elora, newly promoted after her early warnings proved prescient, activated a holographic display showing Earth's development timeline. "Their history is defined by adaptation," she explained. "Unlike most species who evolve to fit their environment, humans change their environment to suit themselves. When threatened, they don't merely fight, they innovate. Their conflicts with each other drove technological development that would have taken other species centuries to achieve." "And now?" asked the counselor. "Now they're expanding," Zivak said simply. "Already they've established colonies on Mars and their moon. They're building ships incorporating both our technology and their own innovations. They're making alliances with worlds we've dominated for centuries." "Can they be stopped?" someone asked. Elder Dravix shook his head slowly. "Not without resources we cannot spare, and success we cannot guarantee. The humans have a saying that their ambassador shared with me: don't disturb the hornet's nest unless you're prepared for the swarm." The Treaty of Earth passed by a narrow margin. For the first time in 12,000 years, the Galactic Confederation had been forced to recognize a primitive world as an equal. In the decades that followed, the hornet's nest became the informal designation for Earth throughout the galaxy. A world whose inhabitants appeared passive until threatened, then responded with overwhelming force and startling innovation. Other species learned to approach human space with caution and respect. And in Confederation tactical academies, the Earth encounter became required study, a cautionary tale about the dangers of underestimating a species not by their current capabilities, but by their capacity to adapt and overcome. The hornets, once disturbed, had changed the galaxy forever.